So it's now been a couple of full weekends since the changes inside of the federal budget. Of course, they haven't fully gone through yet because they haven't passed through the Senate, but the sentiment has obviously shifted and already moved into the market. On ground here in Wollongong is that any markets that are about 1 million to maybe 1.2 and below are still getting hammered, and if not, they're actually busier than what they were before. For an example, 2 weeks ago, we were at an open home inspection down in Marilla for a house that was for a granny flat site that typically we would have been looking at these houses around just over $1 million to just over $1.1 million for this type of site, and the area that was a beachfront. It was nothing special. One open, there was 15 groups through, which was a mixture of people from Sydney, it was local buyers, first home buyers, upgrading the family home that had just sold their other primary residence. It sold to a Sydney investor for $1.2 million. I actually spoke to those investors when we were there. We were just out in the backyard having a chat. They were originally looking to spend about $1.6 million on an investment property up in Sydney, but due to the changes and their borrowing having to be restructured, they lost about 20 to 25% of their borrowing capacity. So they actually came down here. And what it's showing us is that investors aren't going to stop because of this. They didn't stop back in '85. They're not going to stop now. But instead, what it means is that people are going to be pushed lower and they're getting pushed into where more of the first home buyer bracket is. And of course, the first home buyer bracket is already on fire since they did the changes back in October for the 5% deposit with no income caps, all those other things. That it was going to kill the investment market. It hasn't. All it's actually done is made it worse for first home buyers because now they've got even more competition than what they previously had. So the lower end of town is still absolutely on fire. It is very, very hard, especially if you've only got a borrowing capacity in the like $700,000 to $800,000 range. You are going to be up against a lot of competition and a lot of unexperienced competition that are just going to pay whatever the real estate agent tells them, and then they're going to pay overs. Same as what happened with the one in Marilla. They paid over $1.2 million for it, which was over what it's worth only because they're not from here, and to them, where they saw value, what they were comparing it to from where they were, $1.6 to $1.8 million home, they think that it's unreal value to get it for $1.2 million. And again, they're paying overs, they're paying higher than what our market rate is, which is only going to do one thing. It's going to push the value of homes up for all of our first home buyers.